All right, if you spend any time on social media, you're going to see all the entrepreneur internet gurus telling you about how easy business is, right? They're sitting in their parents' basement and they're making six figures from their laptop and it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Well, here's the truth is that business is one of the simplest things in the world, but it's also one of the hardest. And I don't care what anybody says, there will come moments where you are going to go into crisis mode and you need to have a plan to how to navigate that period. Your ability to navigate the crisis is going to dictate how well you can come out the other side of that or whether or not you just go under the waves. So what I'm going to lay out in this video is a 6-step blueprint that you can follow when you're in crisis management mode in your business. Suddenly all the shit hits the fan simultaneously and you're like, oh my God, the ship is going down. What do we do? Specifically, we're going to focus on the finances of a business because cash flow and money in the bank is the lifeblood of a business. And truly, if you have a problem that can be solved with money, then you don't have a problem. That's it. You don't actually have a problem. You need money, but you don't have a problem. So how do we get money? That's the big question. So let's talk through this. First is you need to audit all your cash balances. As soon as you realize that you have some kind of cash crunch or revenue crunch or expense crunch coming up in your business, you need to get crystal clear about how much money you actually have in your bank accounts at that moment. It is surprising and mind-blowing to me how many entrepreneurs cannot answer that question in their own business. They have no sense for how much is actually in the bank account at any given moment. So that's step one. Go and actually figure out how much cash you got. Okay, number two is you need to figure out what are all the additional sources of funding that you can pull in. So what are your credit card line of credits? What is your bank line of credit? What is any loans you could take out of the bank or any additional capital you could raise? Go audit all of your additional sources of funding. What you're trying to figure out right now is how much cash do I have access to? How much ammunition do I have to work with here? Or if we're using the example of cash flow is oxygen, how much oxygen do I have available to me? So that's number one, is figure out what are we working with. Get our cash balances and figure out all our lines of credit and credit cards. Open up those as much as you can during times of peace. You want to have as much credit available to you so that when times are rough, you have more to pull from. That's number two. Number three, I want you to audit all your accounts receivables. I want you to look through every single customer that owes you money and ask yourself, how can I pull this forward? Instead of waiting another 90 days to collect on that bill or the subscription or whatever, how can I pull that forward and get people to pay their bills right now? That is massive because the fundamental problem, again, cash flow, is we don't have enough money coming in relation to how much money is going out. So the first thing is we try to pull forward our accounts receivables. The next step 4, is to delay our payables. So you have people that owe you money. We want to collect that as quickly as possible. You have people that you owe money to. We want to extend that as far as possible. So you want to go to your loan officers, your mortgage brokers, your lenders, your vendors, whoever. You want to talk to each one of them and just say, hey, can I delay this? Can I get net 30? Can I get net 60? And net 30, net 60, if you're not familiar with those terms, this is pretty industry standard, just the idea that when you do the work versus when you get paid for the work. So if I have somebody come in and do the work today, if I can get net 30 terms, that means I don't have to pay them for another 30 days. So what I've done there is I've gotten the benefit of the work, but I haven't had to outlay the capital for another 30 days. So you see, I keep more in the bank, right? I delayed the payable. Versus if I was to go do the work for somebody, I want to negotiate it so that they pay me as soon as possible. I don't want to sit around waiting 90 days to get paid, so this is where the negotiation comes in. Now, we want to pull forward our receivables. We want to extend out our payables. We want to make sure that people are paying their bills as quickly as possible. 5, we want to audit all of our expenses to reduce our cash burn rate. We want to bring our expenses down as far as we possibly can, because if you only have so much money in the bank, then the thing that's going to be eating away at that are your expenses. So go look at all your variable costs. Those are the things that, kind of fluctuate month to month. And then all your fixed costs, like your overhead of payroll and overhead of your office or whatever, your software subscriptions. Look at all of that and ask yourself, what can we do without during this period of time? Reduce your burn rate. This isn't just in business, by the way, but this is in like personal finance as well. Like, reduce the burn rate is one way of instantly increasing your overall wealth. If wealth is the ratio between what you make and what you keep, then it's going to take you a while to go and increase your earning potential, but you could always go and cut your expenses by half. And I know that sounds crazy to most people. Like, I can't cut my expenses in half. I bet you could. You just don't want to. You won't like what you have to cut, but you could. Okay, last thing. Last but not least, if you're getting real desperate, just start liquidating assets, right? Look around at what you've collected over the years and you go, we don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. We don't need this thing over there. Sell it off. Get more cash in the bank, because that is the most important thing when you're in a crisis mode. Cash in bank. We want to get as much of it as possible, as much access to it as possible. We want to pull forward our receivables, and we want to keep that cash in the bank for as long as possible by delaying our payables, right? So you can see this is the crisis management flow when you find yourself in a cash crunch. So if you find yourself in that position, go through each of these steps, figure out your game plan, and then go execute. And it won't be long until you find yourself on the other side of this. So I believe in you. You got this.